Focus Argentina, dealing with fragmented federal state regulation.
Hello everyone, welcome to this focus group panel on Argentina, where we'll be discussing the fragmented federated state regulation that Argentina is currently going through, and seeing how the developments of regulation in Argentina will take place. With us today we have a panel of experts who are specifically addressing the LatAm market and specifically in Argentina. We have Victor Arias, who is the Vice President LatAm by Pragmatic Play. He's an expert in identifying, building, and developing business relationships with companies around the globe. His special focus in the LatAm market is related to a 10-year experience span with both B2B and B2C operators. So thank you, Victor, for being with us. We have another Victor, this time Victor Araneda. He is the International Business Development Director of Gaming One. He has loads of international business development experience in the gaming sector, more than 15 years of that. And his main focus is the US, Asia, and the Latin American markets. Last but not least, we have Sebastian Vivot. He is the CTO at the Lotería de la Ciudad de Buenos Aires. He has been spearheading innovation and technology elements within the Buenos Aires State Corporation for the past 3 years. And the state corporation is in charge of the authorization, organization, and control of games of skills and chance within the city of Buenos Aires. So I welcome our panelists. I'm the moderator today. I'm Reuben Portanier, and I'm the partner at the GTG Advocates and Afilexion, where we provide consultancy and legal services to gaming operators wishing to obtain gaming licenses. So let me just give a very, very brief introduction about Argentina for those who do not have such a connaissance of Argentina. It's the second largest stretch of land in the Latin American continent. It has a population of 45 million people, 15 million of which are in the greater part of Buenos Aires, and 3 million of which are in the city of Buenos Aires. It forms part of the G20, so it's an interesting country to be looking at. And it has the third largest GDP in the South American region. It has a very interesting GDP per capita, being the 10th highest in the South American continent. However, the major part and the interesting part is in the Buenos Aires area, where it has one of the highest GDP per capita amongst the major cities in Latin America. Our panel deals with fragmented federated state regulation. In fact, there are 23 provinces in Argentina and one autonomous city, which is the city of Buenos Aires. And the estimation on the gaming tax revenue from sports betting alone is estimated to be, or will be, around $6.8 million. So let's go direct into the questions today, and I would like to immediately involve Sebastian, given his experience on the regulatory front as well in the city of Buenos Aires. So we've mentioned that Argentina adopts a federal state system. There is a unique element, which is that there is one city which is autonomous from the other provinces. We do have a sort of dual regulatory approach between the city of Buenos Aires and the province of Buenos Aires, which makes it a bit more interesting to discuss as well. So given all of this political scenario, how do you think or you anticipate the regulatory landscape in Argentina is going to evolve over the coming 2-3 years?
Okay, yes. As you said, we have a unique problem in Argentina, that is that all the 24 provinces are autonomous in terms of regulation or exploitation of the gambling industry, both in the land-based industry and in online. We have a few provinces that are already regulate online gambling in Argentina, but are smaller provinces, and actually both Buenos Aires, where is concentrated nearly 60% of the population of the country, are regulation in parallel times. The online gaming, that is a new industry in our country. We have a difference with the province of Buenos Aires. I am from the city of Buenos Aires. I represent that regulator. In the city of Buenos Aires, 3 years ago, the government trespassed the game. The city was a federal national jurisdiction. Now it's autonomous in terms of gambling. So we have a different approach. It's a constitutional issue, that is that the state of the city of Buenos Aires cannot put in private hands the game in Buenos Aires. That is the first difference. So the province of Buenos Aires, our neighborhoods, are given licenses in 7 licenses for international or national operators. We have to do the same process, but with permits. It's not a license. It's different because our constitutional difference. That being said, we are now approaching that process. There are 6 operators that are aspiring to a permit in the city of Buenos Aires. It's a long process because we are reading their projects and then trying to be sure that can apply for our permit, considering that constitutionally we are the owners of the game in the city. I don't know if that is understood. That is the answer.
In essence, it's going to be like sort of subcontractors of the main licensee. Like having concession agreements from the main licensee to sub-licensees. So how does this differ from the other 3 regions where there is already online gambling regulation, like Misiones, like San Luis, like Tucumán? What are the main differences?
The main differences is, first is a commercial differences. There are smaller states in the country, so they're probably not being the main attraction for international operators, the big operators, and also the big national operators. Then they have we in the city of Buenos Aires have a problem, that is that it's a big city, it's a huge city in both jurisdictions, the province of Buenos Aires and the city of Buenos Aires. And the population is already crossing the board all time. And we have different regulations, different constitutional approach. In the city of Buenos Aires, we are in terms of money laundering, we are the penal responsibility is for the president of Lotería of Buenos Aires. In the province of Buenos Aires, they don't have that issue. That kind of things are problems we have to resolve, considering that the potential market is the same. I'm a citizen of the province of Buenos Aires, as an example, that I work all day and I practically live in the city of Buenos Aires. Every morning I cross the border, and every night I went back to my home in the province. This is one of the big obstacles that the other provinces probably doesn't have. The city of Buenos Aires and the province of Buenos Aires are, the border is a street, only a street. Large street, but being a street is a problem. And we have a, yes.
We'll come maybe to the issue of cross-border regulation later on. I would like to bring in on board Victor Araneda. Since we're also discussing some economic figures, and given the background, the very good detailed background that Sebastian gave us about the regulatory framework, from an economic point of view, given also that this summer saw the peso depreciate a lot in value against the dollar, for instance, do you believe that the more mature gaming operators, the gaming giants in Europe, who might be targeting Argentina, will find this element to be a challenge for them to get into the market, into the Argentinian market?
I think it's a fair question. I think that is something that all of us that are interested in the market, all these companies that are interested in the market, need to address at some point. So I'll say, I'll get in my good graces with Argentina. I'll say that I'm a big fan of the market. But the reality is that it's a very complex situation, right? You mentioned the depreciation of the Argentinian peso. It's 300% over 4 years. If you look at Standard & Poor's or Moody's valuation of bonds of the market, it's CCC minus for S&P, and that's from January. Caa2 for Moody's. This is really not the best, financial outlook that I've seen from an emerging market. So, of course, the fiscal situation and the stabilization there, it's a major problem for business development, something that needs to be taken into account. And I've had the opportunity to express this idea to many international stakeholders, and I usually mention that Argentina is similar to a tango. There's a lot of tragedy in it, and there's a lot of movement by the players, and at the end, they usually stay in the same place. But the reality here is that I'm a big fan of what LotVa in particular has put in place, and I think that while the market is, struggling to face COVID and struggling to face, the financial situation, the reality is that this is a market that is worth looking into, regardless of potential issues with currency and profit repatriation.
So I would like to also now involve Victor Arias. We've discussed the economic part, but from a regulatory part, when it comes to compliance, given that we effectively have 19 states, 19 provinces in Argentina that do not have yet a regulatory framework, an open framework. But at the same time, we do have potentially 5 different regulatory approaches, 4 provinces and the city of Buenos Aires. From a compliance point of view, do you think that Argentina is attractive for the larger players, or are we just talking of Buenos Aires here, which is attractive?
Very, very good question. And taking in account what Victor Araneda was saying, right? I mean, it's the complexity of the country makes us content providers, technology developing companies, to analyze, evaluate very well the viability of acting in a country like this, where we have a fragmented regulation. Does it make sense or not for us content providers? Well, I mean, depends on the province. I mean, in my opinion, and knowing Argentina for such a long time, I know that the culture of gaming itself, it's here, and it is a huge culture. It's not just something that is coming up. It's years of experience, practicing online gaming, within the population. Misiones itself, is a big sample of a province that actually and has operations, for such a long time. And from a compliance point of view, it is complicated for us. I mean, content providers, and it's going to be the same for operators, to get into the market due to the fact that, it's each province has its own terms. Each province has its own commercial criteria, and all of them, they have also different requirements for us and for the operator as well. So from our perspective, I'm talking on behalf of Pragmatic Play, of course. We are evaluating today Buenos Aires city. We also evaluated, once Provincia was as well putting out, everything that has to do with the frame. We also did some evaluation. We collaborate with a few operators that were trying to apply in the province, and I'm looking into as well. Other provinces, within the Argentinian market, which are looking into as well open up, or which are already open up. And is it complex? Yes. Is this viable? Well, it's something to evaluate a little bit more, due to what Victor said. The devaluation of the currency, it's something that, it's affecting everybody. The difficulty of having the money brought out of the country. I'm talking on behalf of both. The operator and the content provider is a challenge. So and the thing that I want to make an important focus on is the good job that in this case the city of Buenos Aires is doing regarding the regulation of this I cannot say province, but instead of this city, because it's making a reference to the rest of the Argentina market, and I think it's something that or based on that is that the rest of the provinces are putting more attention on, and they're focusing more on that.
In fact, you led me to the next question. You anticipated my question, where I was going to ask all of you whether you think, which model do you think, regulatory model do you think will be adopted eventually by other provinces in Argentina? Will it be that of Buenos Aires City, of Misiones? Victor?
Well, I think, in my opinion, I know all the provinces, and this is something that Sebastian could confirm as well. I know that all the provinces, they talk to itself. They are all in a very much of communication, one learning from the other, and also taking in consideration what Colombia did, what Panama is doing as well. And I think it's going to be very similar. The difference between one and the other is going to be more commercially and in terms of the technical requirements, the compliance requirements for both the operator and the provider. But Sebastian and Victor will be also good for them to give us their opinion, right?
Yes, maybe Sebastian.
Yes, we work. We have a state lottery association. ALEA is the place that all the 24 regulators can talk in good matters. Considering that there is not a national authority, that association is something like the place where we can talk and discuss about these kind of things. Of course, the differences are, our approach is trying to that differences concern only for commercial and taxing differences. We wrote a technical or compliant standard that we think is available or can be applied for all other jurisdictions, for all the provinces. Also, we are inviting all the provinces to copy or to join our regulation in terms of agreements, but because we understand for operators it's too much difficult to build two platforms, one for the city of Buenos Aires, one for Mendoza. That is going to be it's not going to be attractive to operators. It's difficult. It's not a good decision for the gamers or for the public also. Our regulation has a technical standard that is very detailed, but not in terms of technology. but yes, in terms of functionality or requirements, legal requirements. So we are inviting to operators to offer the technical solutions, and that can be something can apply for other districts also, not only the city of Buenos Aires. Our differences are in terms of compliance, but not in terms of commercial approach. So we think that can be something that can be achieved by all the provinces and the operators. As already says, ALEA is the Lottery Association is the place we are already discussing and these kinds of agreements, and we are inviting from the city of Buenos Aires to other provinces to join our regulation and copy our well-done regulation.
We're a bit tight on time, so I'm going to go to the next question. And I would like to involve Victor Araneda in it. The news recently, specialized news on gaming, mentioned that Casino de Puerto Madero could be launching its own sports book in Buenos Aires, and it seems that the main instigation was due to the establishments being closed due to COVID, which obviously is a very topical situation that we're experiencing all globally. In 2009, Italy, there was one particular big region in Italy, the Abruzzo region, which suffered a big earthquake there, and in 2009 that gave rise to the government, to the Italian government, to open its online gaming sector, and came up with the Abruzzo decree in order to open the online gaming sector in Italy. Will this sort of necessity of the Argentinian government requiring, and the provinces requiring to generate more tax revenue in order to assist the economy, which is going through a bad patch also because of COVID? Do you believe that due to COVID, there's going to be an acceleration in the take-up of regulatory frameworks by the other 19 provinces?
So I think that it's a very contingent question, and obviously I think regulators across the globe have been thinking about this novel idea of online gaming, right? For some of us that have been living in, operating in regulated markets for, 12 plus years, it's a bit surprising to see that there has to be a global pandemic for regulators to think about this. But as we know, and I'm sure you, Reuben, know very well, regulatory measures and political will are not always addressing what can be considered common sense. For the case of our market, Argentinian market, I think that the reality of having the capital and the province going through a regulatory process of their own is probably a bigger incentive than COVID-19 itself. From a practical perspective, not only because 50% of the GDP of Argentina is in this particular region, but because these operators will have national reach, right? Media is based mostly in the Buenos Aires area. So it would be detrimental, I guess, to think that you have, or it would be impossible to think that if you are Mendoza or Córdoba, if you don't have a reciprocity or some type of agreement with the two authorities of Buenos Aires, that you're going to somehow avoid, losing tax revenue.
Okay, final question, because now we're very tight on time, and a very quick answer. Will we ever see Argentina to be like Spain, where although you have different provinces, they will all agree in order to have one sort of federal common base, at least in terms of regulation? Victor Arias, then Victor Araneda, and then Sebastian.
My answer to that is I hope so. I hope so. It's Argentina. It's first is the politics, right? I mean, and politically speaking, there is by history too many differences, between the provinces, and by history also there is a reference where it's very hard for all of them, to get to an agreement or to a mutual agreement. So I hope so. It will be very good, not just for us providers and also for the operators, but it will be very good for the country itself.
Very good. Victor?
My answer here is we as Gaming One, being historically land-based operators, were very concerned about keeping the value of the territory in the territory. But for federal countries, there's a big issue, which is your state or province in this case, valuable enough to ensure that all the work that IT has to do to make sure your platform is compliant to that specific territory is worth it. And in the case of Argentina, I just don't think there's enough value to have specific, 19 different regulations. It has to come through a type of national understanding. If you're the US, if you're Germany, sure, right? When you have a state that is worth 2.5 billion in revenue, sure. Can you do it if you're Argentina? I doubt it.
Sebastian?
I totally agree with both Victors. I also hope our legal framework can work for the land-based sector, but not for the online sector. Yes.
Okay. I would like to thank
but
you
it's
all.
It's a very difficult objective. As already Victor Arias said, the political issues in this kind of country are very difficult to sort.
Very good. I would like to thank you all for being on this panel. It was very interesting to hear your views. I'm sure that our viewers are also going to find or found your interventions very interesting in giving some light to what Argentina is today and how it can transform itself in the coming years. So thank you to all.
Thank you, Reuben.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.